welcome in to the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by StravaCraft Coffee. Remember to use that promo code DNVR20 because, well, when you do that, you get 20% off your entire purchase of that CBD-infused, deliciously rich, and potentially life-altering StravaCraft Coffee. I'm your host, Drew Creasman. I'm the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me, as always, is beat writer Patrick Lyons, and it's podcast numero dos of the day, where we are still pouring through the aftermath of the trade of Nolan Arenado, the press conference about the trade of Nolan Arenado, and now we're going to get to really the heart of the fan reaction to the trade of Nolan Arenado. Joining us in a little bit will be Makayla Perkins, who, of course, you all heard from earlier today, and Eric Wedum / D-Line Co., who I'm sure will have plenty of impassioned thoughts that may reflect many of your own. And of course, if you've got questions, to hit us up in the comment section, either here on Facebook, Twitter, or in the YouTube section. But Patrick, first, we do want to take a little bit, because we're going to work it up to a 10, and maybe this one might even go to 11. However, we're going to start a little bit more relaxed on this one and talk some news that isn't just about the Nolan Arenado thing for a second, because ultimately we do have to wonder, baseball? When's baseball?
When is it? When's baseball?
When's
What's
baseball?
baseball? Will baseball? All of those questions we need to figure out, because it seems like the Major League Baseball Players Association and MLB itself, the teams and the commissioner, can't quite agree to things, and it becomes so very difficult because their collective bargaining agreement expires at the end of this season. So any kind of chess moves that are made this year could have impacts next year. So we're not talking about, hey, there's a pandemic going on and we want to get butts in seats. We want to do it in a safe way. We want players to be safe. We want to make sure owners aren't losing millions or billions of dollars. And yet really each side is just kind of concerned with themselves. So the MLB proposed something that, looks good. And I don't think it makes the players look great right now, but I do know that this will get sorted one way or another. And really, the fact that the players declined it just means we're going to have the normal season as of right now. It could change again. It very well could change by the end of this podcast. But the players rejecting the recent proposal just means they're saying no to that proposal and yes to a normal 162-game season.
Yeah, this is one of those things that's just like, so how can you not? It's a macrocosm of the Rockies. How can these adults not get into a room and figure this stuff out? Who needs to knock their heads together and get them to be a little bit more reasonable here? And I'll be straight with you. I kind of thought the 154-game season proposal was pretty reasonable. But I do understand why the players are going, man, we get pinched and squeezed every time there's an issue, and let's just go ahead and do this thing. It'll look real bad if they show up to spring training and a bunch of people get sick, but other leagues have been doing their things. There have been some issues, but it's getting at least better for a lot of professional leagues, people that have money right now with the vaccine out there, and the 3 or 4% of people that have it. So, yeah, it's just, Henry asking, I don't think it's not feasible. Not every team will have every player vaccinated before the season starts. That's not feasible, but you can probably have quite a few of them. So, it does look like we're going to have normal start for spring training and baseball,
until we don't.
I was just going to say, right until they come out and go, nope, because we've seen crazier stuff.
The more things that have changed since last March, the more that they've been the same. We've been doing this for a year now, and we say, things are going to get better maybe by May. And then it doesn't. And then we go, 4th of July, guy. Hey, 4th of July, right? Am I right? 4th of July? Nope. End of the summer, it's skyrocketing. And then we get the holidays coming up. And here we are in the exact same spot. Yet people are still going about their business, doing things, as you pointed out, Drew. NBA's been fine. And they're indoors too. Let's keep that in mind. NHL's been fine. NFL just played a whole season. And I think, while I understand that MLB wants to try to recoup some money, that their owners have lost, and they want to gain a slightly better control over the situation. I don't think the players can trust that MLB is going to do what's right in the best interest of all parties.
Starting now.
Pretty much. Because they've tried, and again, you're Mr. Politics. You know what what are they? These pork bills and all that stuff, or pork barrel bill, and they try to slide some things in. So one of the things, hey, we'll pay you for 162, but if the games get canceled, we might not necessarily make them up, which has implications for arbitration. Also, there I think was some spotty workmanship in these negotiations or in this proposal for service time. So you had guys who maybe are not going to be a free agent when they thought they were going to be, at least someone in the future, if we're talking about young players. So it's not a simple thing, and we think it should be. I think the owners maybe are making it a little bit more complicated. And you know why? Because they're talking about billions of dollars, and the players are saying, hey, this is too complicated. We're worried about millions, and both of them are not going to look very good.
Well, our guy Len, you know what? I'm going to cheers my Breck brew to you right now, because you got to live in a nice world there for a little while longer than the rest of us. Night shift guy, just woke up. Did the presser go as clunky as expected? Almost scared to check social media. If you haven't been on there, either go and plan to stay for hours, or maybe just stay here with us for a little while, because while we did have reactions to it earlier with one of the people we're about to bring on too, we've got to get deeper into this thing from the fan perspective. So of course, you saw her earlier today, our director of social media here at DNVR, huge baseball fan, slightly less huge Rockies fan these days. Makayla Perkins.
Hey, I still got a Rocky shirt on. I haven't completely denounced them yet, so
that's right.
They'll always be my team, even though they make me upset.
Love it. And of course, we've got to bring in D-line parentheses Eric for the cold hard truth.
That's right. I'm also wearing a Rocky shirt. This is mine that says Colorado NL West participants, back to 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 back. One day we're going to do it, guys. We're going to win that division.
Until then, let's suck on those oranges.
Good job, everybody.
They did participate.
I am looking forward to the reissue, though, with 2 more backs on there. I think there's
We every year we have to do a sad re-release where we add backs.
Just brutal. So, Eric, so far, all of us have had a chance on this show a little bit to react to the Nolan Arenado thing. And I just, if anyone's got small children listening to the podcast, this might be the time to skip forward a little bit. But you've watched all this unfold from the beginning. You were going along with us live tweeting and doing the show earlier today. And just where are you at, man?
Woo! Where am I at? So when news of this started to break over the weekend, I was very perplexed. Started off as perplexed, and then I delved into what I like to call ultra anger, where my normal anger was not satisfying enough to my brain, so I ratcheted it up a notch. And then not only that, I took it as my personal mission to start littering the timeline with anti-Jeff Bridich memes and anti-Rockies memes, and just
scorched earth tactics.
Just a lot of anger. And I find it to be very cathartic. I like the greatest thing I personally think about Twitter is that it's just encapsulates emotions in a moment like nothing else can. It's the only thing we have that literally just records emotions. So you sort of see how human beings are reacting to things. I would say, without doing all the research, it seems like people are angry.
I don't know, chat, does that track with how you've been feeling lately? Let us know in the comments. Eric with some controversy here, so let us know which way you fall on that.
Yeah,
chat.
It's funny though, because typically, I don't know. You just need to be given time to allow healing to take place. But I don't feel any less angry. I somehow am getting angrier. I don't really. I think I may implode into some sort of weird fan supernova, and then the only thing that can escape it is love, as we learned in Interstellar.
That's right.
And grab it.
So I want to ask a question to the panel here. Anyone can jump in as they want, but that's been asked to me a couple of times now on like radio shows and stuff that I've done, which is, does this feel totally different? Because we've heard people do this thing before. Rockies fans go, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not going to be a Rockies fan anymore after the Matt Holliday trade, after the Larry Walker trade, after the Troy Tulowitzki trade. I think this feels different, but if so, why? What is and how long will it last? Do you think this will have long-lasting impacts? Will fans stop buying stuff, stop going to games? Because people are saying it, and like you said, it hasn't slowed down in the last couple of days. If anything, it's sped up.
Right. Well, if you're asking me, like, I have never felt more resolute when it comes to needing to send a message to a front office and to an ownership group. Like, this to me felt like very different because at least with the Matt Holliday trade, you know, we got prospects back that felt interesting and turned into Carlos Gonzalez as it turned out. This just felt like just throwing your hands up in the air and being unable to control any of the situations that are underneath your roof. Like, this just feels like total system failure for the Rockies. Like, the ownership group has just completely lost control. They clearly have no leverage. Nolan Arenado was so upset with them that it somehow gave them no leverage in a trade that involved the best third baseman of all time. Like, consider that. That's insane that you can not only not come out of it with a good player. Like, do we even get picks? Like, this doesn't even signal a rebuild. Like, what is this? This is just literally taking the nicest thing you have in your house and just throwing it out on the lawn and being like, it's probably the same in here. Like, you just bring a bunch of stuff in from outside and you're like, it's the same. What's the difference? Like, we're still going to compete. I know we weren't able to compete when we had the greatest third baseman of all time, but what if we just brought a bunch of players in? Like, we just need guys that can wear the uniform, and that's the end of the sentence. Like, it just, man, to me, it just, like I said, like, I've just never felt so strongly like I wanted to scream in the face of an ownership group or an owner and a general manager and just want to be heard. And for me, like, I very, very earnestly and very legitimately do not plan on going to a single Rockies game next year. I'll watch them. And I'll listen to your fantastic analysis, of course. I mean, who could get away from the two of you?
Well, I mean,
He's talking to me, Drew.
Oh, right, sure. That actually
Eric.
makes sense.
Thanks, Eric.
But I cannot, in my heart, like, stomach the idea of giving even one more nickel to the Monforts. Like, it's like having a terrible government where you just pay huge taxes and then in return, like, the roads aren't paved. They sell your road for $50 million to like a more popular country. I don't know what to do, man. I just feel really upset about it. Like, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, obviously, like I said, Twitter is where emotions are captured, and it's time for a lot of tough talk right now. So we'll see if the lure of the sun changes my mind. But I'm gonna have a really hard time being able to separate the idea of Rockies baseball and Dick Montfort tearing out my heart to save money when he doesn't need to do it. You know, like, I'm going to have a really hard time getting past that and wanting to contribute to that cause again. Like, I don't want to fund things that hurt me, if that makes sense.
Makayla, is that kind of similar for you too, as far as Walker, Holliday, Tulo, slightly different on how those transactions took place here?
I think it's a little different for me just because, you know, obviously the Tulo trade was also mishandled. But, you know, when you talk about Walker and some of those other guys, I feel like those were more just pure baseball decisions. And this one just feels personal to me. And I think the way that it was handled makes it even worse. And I think the fact that it was preventable is the hardest pill to swallow for this one. You know, it didn't have to get to this point. If I was the owner of a baseball team that was that had the best third baseman on their roster, I would have never, ever let him go to another team. And if the source of the problem was my general manager, I would have fired my general manager at this point. So I think this one hurts a little bit more than the others. I love Larry Walker. I love Tulo. But this one hurts a little more because it's personal. It could have been prevented, and it was completely mishandled. So all of those things considered, this is definitely the hardest pill to swallow. I think I originally tweeted, when news of this first broke, that aside from the 2007 World Series, that was the worst day of my life. It's a disaster. It's a dumpster fire. But the hardest thing out of all of it was that it was completely avoidable, and they still managed to not avoid it.
With the trading of Larry Walker, he was at the end of his career essentially, and it was a sad end of the era, Lake Street Bombers essentially, and 37 years old. You understand it. Matt Holliday, still a great core there of players. They went back to the playoffs after he was traded in 2008. They went back in 2009. Got Cargo, again, big prospects. The closest thing would be to Tulo. There was, I think, some hope with those prospects and those players coming in. But you could see there was this young group. Their prospects were ranked rather highly at the time. You saw David Dahl, Ryan Maltapia, Kyle Freeland at that point, Antonio Senzatella. So you had this infrastructure in place, and that's what you're talking about, Eric. You pay taxes, and there needs to be this infrastructure in place, and it's not there. And to Nathan's question about the Rockies' way of doing things and their farm system, it's struggling right now in a major, major way. So you don't tick off any boxes in trading away the best player the franchise has seen. You get back the worst crop of players you've ever gotten, and you don't have anybody to replace that talent that you've lost. Yes, there are some good ball players that are gonna move over to third base and whatnot, but overall, you didn't just now replenish the system with the holes that you have. There are still gaping holes, and so Nathan, unfortunately, the farm system, it's not looking good right now.
Can you imagine being the guy that has to be the next third baseman of the Colorado Rockies? That's so horrible.
Shout out to Rymac. How you feeling, bud? How you doing? We'll see if we can get him back. It's been a while since we've had Rymac on the show. We'll see if we'll reach out. We'll see how he's feeling. Because that is the best positive spin you can give on this kind of thing. It's like no one thought Trevor Story was going to be the replacement for Troy Tulowitzki that he ended up being. Mac and Rogers do have the talent, and I know people don't believe in Rogers, but he is the most talented prospect I've ever seen come through the Rockies system, as high as I've been on Tapia and Story. I was higher on Story than other guys at the time because I was comparing him to Clint Barmas and stuff. Like, that was literally like the best of those kinds of things, right? So I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not.
If you like symmetry, how about this for you? If you like symmetry, Story, nobody saw who was coming, and you had, Jose Reyes, Christian Adames. You go, all right, he's the next guy in line. And out of nowhere, Trevor Story, 2 home runs on opening day. And the guys, back end of the top 10 of the Rockies prospects, no one saw it coming. Well, we know Ryan McMahon. He's a guy that I think he's going to be an all-star this year in 2021. But if you want to go for the symmetry, if you want to go for the story, Colton Welker's that guy. Colton Welker's the one that folks could very easily be sleeping on. Had a decent 2019. He had a decent 2019. We didn't see him at the alternate site as much as we would have liked. And you go, this could be the guy who, in his major league debut, maybe it's a homer against the Dodgers on opening day, April 1st. That would be a great story.
This is too cheery for me. I can't follow you.
That.
We have another.
It's usually Drew. Drew's usually the one. We've switched roles.
That was something. That was an interesting.
What is the worst feeling about this to me? Like, as I take even a step back beyond just the specifics of this, like, unbelievably indefensible deal, is that. So, like, how do you build a team, right? Like, you either draft the players or you acquire the players, right? Like, and if you are a very lucky team, you are able to convince top players to come to your team, and then you pay them a lot of money, right? So we drafted or I don't know if we drafted, but we brought Nolan Arenado up through our system, which is the one way to create players. And then when he got good, when we should be enjoying his peak, then we get rid of him so that somebody else can then pay him. But then we also can't convince good players to come here. So if we're not growing them, and we're not paying that, like, how do
Where
we
are they
win?
coming from? Where do they come
How
from?
does this work for us?
Where do the good baseball players come from? Chat?
They're not coming from anywhere right now.
Except for this Welker guy, who I can't wait to see. Better than
Well,
Story and Arenado.
But I think that weighs into the overall disparity of the situation, like the overwhelming feeling of negativity, because, you know, sometimes when things like this happen, you have a bright spot to look at. We don't have that. You know, the things that we got, the assets we got in return for Nolan are not good. We have the 29th ranked farm system in baseball for second year in a row. Okay. In case you didn't know, there's 30 teams in Major League Baseball, and we've got 29 out of 30. So second from last. And, you know, you look at some of the guys coming up through the farm system. Yeah, they've got some upside, but overall, our farm system has been depleted. We weren't able to rebuild any part of it through the acquisitions we got from the Cardinals. And we can't sign anyone because into Monfort, we're broke, or no one wants to come play here. So it's a little difficult to be positive right now. And I think this is just all weighing in, and it's all
Other
hitting
than
us
that,
at,
though, how was the play?
But am I wrong? Like,
No.
No.
That is why the calls for selling the team will continue to grow. And that's why I think the
I'll be
thing
making them, by the way.
that stood out, why I said the night that it happened, which was the essence of what you're saying here, Makayla, which is, and Eric, as you put it, if you can't afford to pay Nolan Arenado market value, what he's worth, to be a future surefire Hall of Famer and maybe the best third baseman of all time, and to do it while wearing your uniform for his entire career. If that's on the table in front of you and you feel like you can't afford it, then maybe you can't afford a baseball team.
Yeah.
You just, like, that's ridiculous.
And you pay him to go away. And
pay him to go away.
so is that the solution when you say how would you fix the Colorado Rockies? It would be you find a way to get Dick Monfort and his brother to get rid of the team.
Yes.
Someone new. Is that the only solution?
they have to get rid of Bridich. They have to get rid of Monfort, and they have to restructure the front office. Like Drew and I were talking about earlier, you need a president of baseball operations. There should be 3 key decision makers in that front office. It should be your GM, your president of baseball operations, and your owner. Obviously, the owner not having as much hands-on, decision in the process in the decision making. Right. But they need to if they're going to tear down the team and they're going to rebuild, they also need to tear down the front office and rebuild the front office, because the current front office is so ill-equipped to run this team. It is so mismanaged, and it is literally an embarrassment to baseball, the fact that they are still employed. So, they need to restructure. They need to get rid of Bridich. Monfort needs to sell. They need to bring in better baseball minds who are better equipped to run a team, and they need to hire a president of baseball operations. And then from that point forward, those people who are better equipped to run a team can decide what they want to do, if they want to rebuild, if they want to try a different route. I don't care, but I don't want Bridich or Monfort making any more decisions about this team.
You just laid out a 3-legged table, right? A 3-legged table with the GM, team president, and the owner. And if 2 of those 3 people that aren't the owner say, look, Dick, we got to do things a slightly different way if we're going to win ball games or we're going to win a championship, whether that is tank or whatever, but we're both on the same page. We're the baseball guys. They're going to outrule and overrule Dick Monfort because there's 2 of them. But as it exists right now, there is not a team president. So what you have is maybe Jeff Bridich talking with his team of assistant GMs, his analytic team, singular,
the analytic.
Not plural. The analytic.
That's right, Eric. You've got to design a comic book for us for the Colorado Rockies analytic, not department. The analytic. That's definitely a superhero. So the one guy who is the analytic for the Colorado
Jeff Bridich
Rockies.
gets the word from the analytic. He gets it, but then he goes, "Okay, Dick. So here's what we all think that we should do." Well, Dick says, "Well, I'm 50%. You're 50%." And Ty goes to the owner. Sorry, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to trade a once-in-a-generational player for my reasons, and you need one other person in there making a decision.
Yeah,
Right. I agree.
This like, I mean, really, this just like whatever argument you find in the organization, like it just really comes down to the guy that makes all of the decisions. It just really comes down to Dick Monfort. Like, and I don't know how involved his brother is. Like,
much less these days.
But I mean, all of what you're talking about, the infrastructure, the front office, the the strategy, the fun, that all comes from that man. Like, and he's just not. He just doesn't have it. Like, he just doesn't have it. Like, he can own the team. I really hope that this is like getting to him. Like, and he's sort of like understanding that there are consequences. He's not just playing like fantasy football online and like it's, you know, like, oh shoot, I thought we'd win this year but we didn't, like, and, like what this actually means to people, like the amount of time and effort that literally millions of people spend thinking about the thing that you are in stewardship of. I just hope that gravity is like coming to him, and it's like it's not cool to toy with people's emotions. It's not cool to throw away hope, you know, like it's not okay to, especially for the sake of, you know, financial reasons, that, you know, if you are an owner in this league, like that can't be something that you are having to face a decision for. Like you're saying, like if you're not rich enough, like you just can't play. Sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you, right? I mean, unfortunately, you chose to get involved in this insane money sink, which is Major League Baseball, which is just so deeply broken when it comes to finances. But like, yo, if you want to play, like you got to meet the minimum requirements, and that's it. Otherwise, unfortunately, like you're not losing, like we're losing, and we are not losers, sir. You, sir, are a loser. You can take that to wherever you want to go, but like, don't put that on me, man. So it's frustrating, and to get. Again, like just to get no kernel of hope back from Nolan Arenado is just, it's unconscionable. Like, even if you only got one player back and it was a prospect you were interested in or somebody had heard of, like our baseball people, for example, had heard of, like, that would be at least a little heartening. Like when, you know, when we got Carlos Gonzalez back, everyone was like, well, this is actually, you know, this is a player that's making noise over in Oakland. Like, this feels like, you know, there's something that can happen that we can build upon. Like, there's nothing to build off of here. This is just a throwaway. So, goddamn, man.
That's right.
I'm frustrated.
That's right. Okay, I do got to take care of a couple. There was a comment here. First of all, just if you're allowed to be proud as a child to your parent, this comment from my mother, "Can we GameStop Monfort?" is like a career and life high for me. Like, that's just amazing that like all of those worlds collided. Like, this is the person who bought me Star Fox for the Super Nintendo from a Woolworths in Grand Junction. So like that she's out here trying to GameStop Monfort is just kind of a mind.
Barbara is my hero. We love Barbara.
Yeah, she is also my hero, just so we know, just so that's clear out there.
My mom texted me #AMCULater, and I don't think she realizes it wasn't Twitter. Mom, you're texting me. You're not Twittering.
But I did want to ask, though, first I've got to make sure, because I know everyone's brains are fried here. Everyone's brains are fried, but you might want to get your brain a little bit of healing time, a little bit of exercise. It's good for your brain. You can do that over at MSU Denver Online. Seriously, give yourself something else to think about for a little bit. Take a class in French poetry or the history of comic books or Victorian England or anything
Sports
that has
management.
Yeah, I was gonna say
You go to Harvard for that one.
Hey, but where you go, you know
Brain
what?
surgery. I don't know if they offer brain surgery courses.
They may have brain surgery classes at MSU Denver Online. You could be the next GM of the Colorado Rockies if you get your situation taken care of at msudenver.edu/online. And right now, if you use the code DNVR Sports, they are waiving their fee for the application, which I know is huge. I know when I was applying for colleges, a couple of times I've done that, sometimes that would be would stop me from doing it. It would be a barrier to doing it. So a free application, you've got nothing to lose. Head over to msudenver.edu/online. Get your brain nice and sharp. so that you can maybe even be, and this is what I wanted to ask you, Eric and Makayla, because you were kind of touching on it there. And our boss, Brandon Spano, put out a video on Twitter today where he talked about kind of what you were saying there, but you won't hire the right people to win. You won't bring in the people who are competent professionals who know what they're doing, or surround yourself with all the necessary people that even if you've got one, that you don't have the team president, you don't have the whatever. And so does that seem like, fundamentally it's just this organization has a fundamental lack of professionalism, I guess? Is that the way to put it?
I think so. I mean, I have, in my own life, I've encountered people that were connected to Major League Baseball through significant others that were scouts. Specifically, like, I knew a woman whose husband was a scout for the Seattle Mariners, and she lived in Denver. And she would say, like, when we were just kind of talking, that he would always talk about how the Rockies were so disconnected from the rest of Major League Baseball that they were essentially an island that nobody wanted to deal with, and that they just didn't have any respect for them. And it's like, it is this like weird sort of like outsider country boy attitude. Like, we don't deal with you big slick city slickers. Like, like we're homegrown Colorado Rockies. And it's just, it's absurd, because you're working in the lattice of an infrastructure whereby you need to be able to have good relations with the other teams, because then it's beneficial to everybody involved, and business only works through partnerships. And if you don't have partnerships in this league, like, you can't do anything. Like, people are more likely to want to make a deal that might aid you, even if it only kind of helps them, if they like you. And it's not that you have to be chummy bummy with everybody, but like the fact, like, when I heard
maybe
that,
not being outwardly contentious with everybody.
Like,
and being one of the worst
like,
communicators. We've heard that about Bridich being a very
when
poor
I heard
communicator.
that, like, everything snapped into focus for me about about the franchise. I was like, oh, right. Yep, that makes sense. That checks out.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, when it comes to that kind of communication and being insular, and I get it, it's hard to trade within the division, but the one question I keep coming back to is, if you reach out to the Los Angeles Dodgers, do you get back a much better package that, even if you do go ahead and you're unsuccessful over the next couple seasons, you have a much better opportunity to move forward? I mean, yeah, you can be playing Arenado 19 times a year, and that's going to be painful when he comes back. But is that actually better for your organization post Arenado era? Do you make that deal with the Dodgers?
No.
I would actually rather enrich the Dodgers if I also got some sort of ancillary benefit, as opposed to this, where we're not enriching the Dodgers, but it's not like the Cardinals are some like little sleepy team that.
So maybe the Padres. You trade Arenado to the Padres, and you go, knock the Dodgers off the podium.
Division. I see him 19 times a year. Makayla, can you handle that? Am I alone on this?
I mean, back.
Oh, you're muted. Oh no.
I forgot I muted myself, but that's a tough one, because we can play the hypothetical situation all day long. Obviously it would suck having Nolan in the division and having to face him 19 times a year. I can see the argument for trading him to the Padres or the Dodgers, who have, stacked farm systems and can provide a better return. But, at the end of the day, like D-Line was saying, he went to the Cardinals. It's not like the Cardinals are a poverty franchise. The Cardinals have done a really good job of developing, drafting, and working with talent within their farm system. So, I don't have any, like I've said it before and I'll say it again, I don't have any confidence in this front office. So whether presented with a choice to trade him to the Padres or trade him to the Cardinals, I'm not any more confident that this front office would have been able to get a higher return than what they got from the Cardinals. So if the choice is now between trading him in a division or trading him to the Cardinals, I would take the Cardinals, because Lord knows what we would have gotten from the Padres if we would have decided to send him to the Padres or the Dodgers. I don't think it would have been any better than what we got from the Cardinals, because I think our front office is that incompetent. So I'm glad he's at the Cardinals, because at least we don't have to play him 19 times a year.
It's such an interesting concept, because I think with a different front office, you say, well, clearly the package from the Dodgers could be phenomenal. If you have a different front office, the package of the Dodgers would be phenomenal. However, if you have that same different terrific front office, you're getting a much better deal from the Cardinals, and then we don't even have to have this discussion about, well, the Dodgers package would be better, because it would have been, even with Bridich and Monfort at the helm, it would have been better, but it would have been worse overall. Again, seeing Arenado all those times, your team might have come along a little bit quicker in the rebuild, or whatever you want to call this, but it's really almost a moot point, because it's just been botched so
bad,
poorly, and they don't seem to think this is a rebuild. They seem very reticent to use that word.
I will say, like, last night the Nuggets were supposed to play the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons, who signed Jeremy Grant out from under us in the offseason. Right. It was going to be the first time we faced him since that trade. And before the season started, Adam had circled this game as a big game to sort of look for, because that storyline was going to be interesting. And as we got to the game last night, we were asking, how is this going to feel? Like, are you going to have animosity? And I was like, no. And not really, and that's because the Nuggets are in a good place. Like, if the Nuggets were struggling, I would be really mad about it, right? And I'd like boo Grant with all my heart. It'd be a real big thing. But it's sort of like, if you're able to be left in a good place, and payback being the ultimate, or doing well being the ultimate payback, or whatever. But just that thing where you have sort of moved on. Like, this feels like we're just sliding backwards, and it seems like years before we'll even be able to get back to zero, right? Like, so this would be a lot different if we traded them to the Dodgers. We saw them 15 times a year, but we got like real pitchers back, and we got like real players back that felt like, okay, like maybe we don't have like the transcendent talent here, but we're at least able to field a much better team overall. Like, I would feel a lot better about that, but I don't feel like all we've done is lose ground at every level on this. So that's tough to swallow.
Yep. It sure is. That is definitely the reality of the situation at this point. All right. So I wanted to ask about kind of the timeline of your future. And I'm really curious about this from Rockies fans, and for many reasons, not the least of which is I am wondering, how we're going to plan out some podcast stuff. But it is funny, because it's like, what is the timeline, do you think, for, the day when, because you had talked about you'll probably watch some games. You're not going to go to any, but you're going to watch some. When comes the day where you do start wondering about, okay, how does Ryan McMahon look at third base? What does the lineup look like? Who are the guys on these teams? When comes the day when you start thinking about the baseball on the field? And then the other part of that is, what's the day, what's the timeline that you watch Nolan Arenado play for the St. Louis Cardinals? Are you watching his first game? Are you not doing it? Is it going to take years, months, weeks? The first one? Eric, why don't you go ahead and start, man?
All right, so am I muted?
No, you're...
Okay, so I will never watch him play for the Cardinals. Never once, not one time. Because I don't know if he's going to stay with the Cardinals past this year. He could still opt out and not be a Cardinal.
When they're playing the Rockies, are you just hiding in a bunker?
I mean, listen, like, it's already torturous to go to a St. Louis Cardinals Colorado Rockies game.
That's true. That's a fair point
to begin with. Like,
so
I won't have any problem staying away from that game when it's at the stadium. And the thing about baseball is that you can skip a few days. There'll be another game on in a few more days. Like,
right.
I
beautiful game, isn't it? Oh,
yes,
I love it.
It's just it's too painful. I want no part of that. But like, when will I start to evaluate? And like, I will watch the games. I will see if somehow Jeff Bridich knew more than all of us, and he really did get a good return, and somehow the product on the field is not suffering. Like, okay, I'll eat crow at that point, and I'll come back and watch. But like, if it turns out to be what it seems like it's going to be, like, I'm not going to support it. Like, I'm going to monitor it, absolutely, but I'm not going to support it until I feel like there is a reason to do so, meaning that the franchise is moving in a forward direction. And if we're just continuing to slide backwards, like, no, man, like, no.
Like, not necessarily a fan of the Colorado Rockies, more of a monitor of the Colorado
dude,
Rockies
I'm
at
serious.
this point.
Like, I really like, like, I really love baseball. I've been a fan of baseball my whole life. It was a really big deal when Colorado got a team, obviously. Like, I was a huge card kid. I would keep score at all the games. Baseball's, probably one of the games that I've played the best. And just to see, like, what it's turned into here, it's just so sad. And it's like the city of Denver doesn't deserve so much of, like, what's happened. Like, just,
Right.
People, this place is treated like playing here would make you a baseball pariah. Like, nobody should want to come here. The altitude is one thing, but that the ownership and the reputation that it holds across the league has a lot to do with that as well. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, this is a proud city, and we have really great things that take place here. And for the Rockies to be such a national laughingstock at this exact moment of time is just unacceptable.
Yeah.
I'll be watching his first at bat.
I was gonna say
I will.
I knew what your answer was to that. I love it though. Give
it's
us
gonna
yours,
be painful.
and then I want to hear Max.
I want to see him, hit a home run in his first at bat to, like, totally cement, the fan base behind him in St. Louis, and then I'm gonna shout some expletives, and I'll be really disappointed. I mean, it hasn't really sunk in yet, but every time I keep thinking about, looking at third base and seeing somebody other than Nolan Arenado there on opening day, and all those plays that are just, the phenomenal plays that he makes all the time, and how some of the simple ones are going to be booted by whoever is going to take up his spot, just because that happens. And Nolan doesn't really do that. So, I'm going to keep an eye on Arenado, but like Eric said, you can kind of look away for a little bit and come back, but it's going to hurt for a while. It'll hurt, but I want to see him do well in red.
Yeah. I kind of have the same thought process as Patrick does. Above anything else, I'm a baseball fan, and I love the sport of baseball, and I truly appreciate what it is and what it has to offer. So, I've been really angry and I've been really upset. I'm sure that's come across on the past 2 podcasts that I've appeared on. But, after today, I'm just going to give myself a moment to just sit back and just digest this and then move on, because there's nothing about it at this point. Done. He's already on the Cardinals roster. There's literally nothing we can do. So, I want to watch Nolan succeed, and I want to watch him do well, because I think he's a great person and a great player. There's also a little bit of a selfish motivation for me to want to watch him, because I'm tired of people trying to discount his talent for being what it is because he plays at Coors Field. And I want him to shut them up, because now there's no excuse. Like, if he can perform as a Cardinal and he can do well in St. Louis, then there goes everyone's argument against him, because, it's Coors. Like, his betting average is so high because he plays at Coors. Like, I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear it anymore. So I hope he does well as a Cardinal, because I'm tired of those people trying to discount the amazing talent that he is as a baseball player. So I will watch and I will support him, even though he's not wearing Rockies purple. It's going to suck and it's going to hurt me. And it does hurt. I'm honestly upset about it. And I told that to you guys earlier, that it's frustrating that I'm a fan of a team that cares so little about the people who support them. But, I'm rooting for Nolan. I hope he does well. I hope he sticks it to those haters and shuts them up for good, because I think he is a generational talent. And, I will watch him and I will support him, as far as caring about the product that's on the field for the Rockies. Like, I'm always going to care. Like, you can call me crazy. You can call me an addict, like whatever you want to call me. But, I am born and raised a Rockies fan, and I can hate the front office until the day that I die. But the front office has nothing to do with the players that are still on the roster. I mean, not in that way, but like, the players that are on the roster had nothing to do with the decision to trade Nolan. And so, I believe in supporting those people. I believe in supporting those players. And, if we all throw in our hat and we all say, I'm done with this team, whatever, like, that's going to do nothing but hurt us in the long run, because then, maybe the team gets moved way down the road if we all start supporting them and Monfort's still the owner. I just don't want to go down that path. I will always love baseball. I will always love the Rockies. I'm going to support the Rockies. I'm not going to support Brightich. I'm not going to support Monfort. I'm probably not going to go to as many baseball games if we're allowed to that I normally would have. But, it's a sad situation, but it's out of our control. So
my feeling on that, like he might move the team. It's like, okay, move the team. Like, you don't think somebody else wants to come right in behind you and bring a team here where you don't even have to have a competitive baseball team. You can be in the top 5 of attendance. Like, okay, take your team. Like, go ruin some other city. Like, let's have somebody completely fresh come in. They can use the building that the taxpayers paid for that is gorgeous and the only reason that people come. Like, go, beat it. Like, or sell. Like, we just don't want you part of this anymore. You've had your chance and you've shown what you can do, and you can't do it, man. You can't do it. I'm sure that you're a nice guy. I bet you're a great grandpa. Bet you tell a bunch of funny jokes when you're drinking at the bar with all your buds. But you got to beat it, man. Like, you just got to get out of here. So
the best of his legacy at this point is going to be the rejuvenation of Lodell, and that's it. That is what he has done as an owner of a baseball team. It's like, that's not really your primary job. And I will say, I love Lodell. I mean, like,
that's great.
Actually, there's these meditations you can do on Netflix. There's a great series of guided meditations that you can do on Netflix. And one of the very common things, I've done guided meditation for a long time, actually. And one of the very common things is, find a place that feels comfortable in your mind and just kind of close your eyes and go there. And it's a lot of different places for me, and sometimes it has been Coors Field. And there have been times where it's just kind of been the general atmosphere of Lodo over the last 10 years, of the people in that area and the streets. Because Eric knows, because he remembers before that when his warehouses and lot of gangsters and people would look at my parents like, you're taking your children where? You're doing what? But there really is a special atmosphere there. So it's like, that's it. That's your legacy now. There's no way out from underneath.
Which is
this.
A perfectly fine legacy. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of.
So call it quits and move on, right?
It's like John Elway. Like, he won Super Bowls, like, and he hit the height.
Build McGregor Square and go off.
It's just been going
that.
downhill. Like, time to get out. Like, let's save a little face here where you can at least look at it, and we can maybe when you pass on from this earth, like, we can have positive feelings about what you've created. But like, you are like, I've just never seen a person enrage a larger amount of people outside of maybe our former president, like, in one fell swoop, like that. Just
I've seen a couple.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe just outside of politics in general.
I do find it interesting that his legacy, as you guys said, will be as a realtor than as a baseball owner. But Eric, those might make you feel better. He can't move the team right now. It was only a couple of years ago he did sign a new 30-year lease to stay at Coors Field, and part of that lease was to get the land of which he built McGregor Square. So he's tied in. So if the two options are move the team or sell the team, you have to sell the team.
Sell the team,
man.
Gotta sell that team.
We gotta let him know.
Right.
People of Denver, let that man know you want him to sell the team. Like, the only thing that inspires movement and change is discomfort. That's the only thing. Like, people don't lose weight until they feel bad about themselves. Like, people don't you don't move your hand until you hit something sharp and then you move it the other way. Like, it can't just be like, well, I hope everyone just understands. Like, this guy just needs to be made a clown all over town. Like, he needs to be painful for him to own the Rockies. So, and that just means
at the same time,
boycotting.
At the same time, though, like, I don't see selling the team as the only path to success. Like, the path that they're on right now goes nowhere but down. So they can't continue on this path. But I think, if at the end of the day, Monfort is so dead set on continuing to own this team that he will never sell. Like, let's just play this situation out, right? He is 100% going to be the owner until he dies. Let's just say that, right? I think, okay, fine, you're going to be the owner until you die, but it's going to take him taking a back seat in baseball decisions, doing nothing but being like a ominous figure from far away, hiring a new general manager and hiring a president of baseball operations who, like Patrick said earlier, overrules, makes the decisions for him so that he is just like happy in a retirement home, like miles and miles away from Coors Field. So I think there's success that if he ends up not selling the team that can be had, but it's going to take him realizing that he is doing nothing but hurting the team that he's owning and deciding to leave all the baseball decisions to people who are qualified to make them.
The problem therein lies is that he is the one that decides if those people are competent or not. He hires those people. Like, he doesn't know what it looks like. He thought that Jeff Bridich was competent. He thought he was doing that. Like, he thinks, like, he has this, like, group of little cronies that are, in his world, baseball guys that are not. Like, he doesn't have connections to the people that are, like, he couldn't get Theo Epstein on the phone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just like, oh, you know, we'll just like that guy.
Makayla and I actually figured out they don't know that they can call people at all. They don't know that the phone goes both ways. We actually figured that out.
Don't know how that phone works.
No connection.
Hopefully Theo doesn't have caller ID because that's the only way he's gonna pick up the phone. But
Eric,
I understand that. But go ahead, Patrick.
Eric, I know those. Rob. Oh my God. What's the NFL commissioner? I was thinking. I can't stop thinking about Rob Manfred.
Roger Goodell.
But Roger Goodell, of course. Those ones of him with a clown nose and a rainbow-colored wig.
Yes.
I don't know. You might have a little D-line.
I'm saying, like there is something
idea
to,
there.
Like just the notion of public shaming that is more effective than you'd want it to be.
So look for the D-line sell the team shirt that you can all wear to the games.
Oh yes,
like,
people are begging me to put out sell the team shirts.
I'm
I can
sure.
only hold out for so long.
I was gonna say I'm sure that's on the way. I wanted to ask you one last question that was kind of along the lines of something that came up earlier, and since Nate sort of touched on it in the comments here, I wanted to ask you, better or worse feeling, like physically inside your body, if Nolan Arenado wins an MVP award in a World Series next year? You feel good about that, or do you feel terrible about that?
Whew. I love Nolan. And I don't fault him for any of this. So,
because that's very much on the table. Let's also understand that. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like
that is very much on the table.
I would like to see that. I don't want to like. I don't know, man. You're talking about like incredibly complex human emotion here. That is
right. Like, what will that day feel like? I don't know either. I
have no idea.
I don't have an answer.
I might detest it. I might like pretend I've never known him. I might embrace it. I have no clue. I know that it will be a absolute salad of emotions.
Salad of emotions.
Salad of emotion.
Either that's a T-shirt or that's a new menu item at the DNVR bar.
Yeah, but Rocky's salad of emotions is just iceberg lettuce, caramel or Cracker Jacks, and ranch dressing. Let's go.
I think I would obviously, like, as I said before, I'm completely pro Nolan. So I hope he wins the World Series ring. I hope he wins MVP because he deserves it. And he's worked really hard in his career to be as successful as he is. You know, it's not his fault that he's not on the Rockies roster anymore. Obviously that blame lies solely with Bridich and the ownership. So yeah, I hope he wins the World Series because there's nothing worse than, you know, having a generational player on your team and not getting to that point of your career. Like I watched, you know, Larry Fitzgerald spend his entire career on the Arizona Cardinals roster and have not won a ring. And like, that sucks. Like that's really hard to digest. Like same with Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey didn't win a ring with the Broncos and that's really hard. So I would never wish that for Nolan. And I think he has earned that right to be on a team that is in a contention for a World Series title. And I hope that he wins MVP and I hope he is successful. And I hope he makes the Rockies regret every single day the way that they treated him and the decision to let him go.
Very disrespectful over there.
If I can answer the question really quick, because as you guys were bringing it into focus for me, I think I figured out. I'll feel very happy for Nolan Arenado. I'll feel incredibly angry at all of the people who are writing about Nolan Arenado winning the MVP in the World Series and the narrative that comes along with him having been a better player. And I hope Makayla's right that it puts to bed some of that narrative, but my history with Dexter Fowler and Matt Holliday and Larry Walker and Juan Pierre and Troy Tulowitzki and any number of other people
DJ
have suggested. DJ LeMahieu most recently, obviously, of guys who've been really good ball players after they've left. And
David Dahl.
Well,
I'd be very happy for him, if he won an MVP, if the Cardinals won a World Series. I think in either of those scenarios, even if only one of them happens, I feel bad for the remaining Rockies. I feel bad for the guys that got left behind. It's almost, it's not an ex-girlfriend, but it might be, someone you went to summer camp with and you date and then you part ways and it's like you didn't really break up. It just ended amicably, was whatever. And then the next thing you know, you look and you're like, oh, whoa, what has happened here? You just feel bad. You're
Right.
like, oh, I could have had that. I don't know. And it would be so painful. There's an entire 40-man roster of guys essentially that you just go, oh, okay. Hey, Nolan, I used to know him. Here are the pictures. See, we used to be teammates. Here's him giving me a high five. Yep, he's the MVP. That's the guy.
Have you guys let your brain go to this place where you're like,
oh god, this is
Nolan
dark.
Arenado's probably not going to be wearing a Colorado Rockies hat in the Hall of Fame.
That was my.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to say that was my fourth thought.
That is.
What's the percentages? What's the breakdown?
He's going in where people think he might take that the opt out and go to the Dodgers or whatever. He's going in. I'll say it now. There's a 90% chance he goes into the Hall of Fame wearing a St. Louis Cardinals hat.
All right. Here's how I break it down because we've seen a lot of guys in the latter half of their career not put up the same numbers because Nolan has put up major numbers and he's been healthy throughout the entirety of his career. And I think, that's his bread and butter. That's his prime. So I think there's a 40% chance he goes in with the Cardinals. There's a 40% chance he goes in as a Rocky, and then a 20% chance he goes in with the MLB logo on. He doesn't go with either. So there's still a 60% chance he does not go in as a Rocky. But I think those odds are pretty good, the 40%, only because
there you go.
Even if he wins a World Series, what does he have to do? He's got to do a lot.
Where are these percentages coming from?
80% of statistics are made up.
What are these?
Patrick and I do this for a living, bro.
40-40-20.
But I mean, it's a legitimate question because, obviously the Rockies developed him. He came up through the Rockies system. He spent, I don't know how long he plans on playing baseball for, but close to maybe half of his career here. And then look at how they treated him. Like, why would he go in as a Rocky? Of course that, he was a part of an organization for a certain amount of time, but I don't know, maybe I'm just a jaded human being, but I wouldn't reward that behavior by putting a Rockies logo on my helmet or my hat in the Hall of Fame. To me, what Bridich has done is unforgivable. We're never going to know the full extent to what that relationship, how badly it's deteriorated, and to how much he has truly made Nolan mad. But to me, if I was in Nolan's spot, putting a Rockies logo on my hat would be like rewarding that horrendous behavior that Bridich displayed. And I couldn't bring myself to do it. And I don't think he doesn't owe the Rockies organization anything. They treated him so horribly to the point that he felt he was in a box and had nothing left to do but request a trade. So I don't know why he would go into the Hall with the Rockies logo on his hat, and that's really, really infuriating. But again, if that does happen, that's nobody's fault but Bridich and Martin.
Oh, of course.
But this is just the ending. This is just how it ends. It ends awfully. But you know what? Bridich said it where he's like, "Oh man, I've known Nolan for a decade, and I know his family and all this." So there's still all these great memories, and time heals all wounds. Time will heal all that. He'll get past it, and then he'll go, I did have some really good times. That's where I established myself. So right now, those wounds are really deep.
That sounds like 40%.
But
that's the 40. Thank you.
Go ahead, Makayla.
Someone in the chat said it. I would compare Nolan's situation to Peyton Manning's situation, right?
I was just going to say.
Peyton Manning spent a majority of his career with the Colts. He won a Super Bowl with the Colts. He won a bunch of accolades and awards with the Colts. And then when he had his neck surgery and he had his injury problems and the Colts treated him like shit and he ended up with the Broncos, I bet you any amount of money, he goes into the Hall of Fame as a Bronco because the Broncos gave him a chance. He still lives in Denver. He still is a part of the Denver community. Like his kids go to school in Denver. Like, and that is because the Colts treated him like crap. And guess what the Rockies did to Nolan? So if Peyton Manning, one of the best players in the history of football, is going into the Hall as a Bronco because he joined that team after he was treated so bad by the Colts. What's going to stop Nolan from doing the same thing?
Really chipping away at this old 40%. Maybe we can put a sad statue of Nolan out in front of Coors Field, like the Colts did with Peyton Manning, and Nolan has to show up and be like, "Yay!" Like you can replace the statue of the fan out front. Put Nolan on the hot corner.
Just Nolan with that classic that everyone knows who's seen him play. That classic face when he's looking out into the outfield, like.
And he just has to show up like, thanks guys, really appreciate this. This is so great.
I mean, like this whole situation is just an astronomical failure on.
Oh God! And it just reverberates for the rest of time. It's not like at some point it's like, I mean, I'm like, all right, how can we? So maybe Monfort sells the team this offseason. Because of a T-shirt that I put out that's very, very biting.
So far, there's a 90% chance this comes true. If you want to know,
so you were worried. Season,
90%.
And then Nolan Arenado opts out of his contract with St. Louis, re-signs with the Colorado Rockies, now owned by Jeff Bezos, and it's a beautiful reunion.
13.
There's not a dry eye in the seats. He hits the cycle on his first day. Oh my God. Can't believe this. It's going to be amazing.
So,
90% chance that happens.
If you're Eric, if you do want a glimmer of hope, our guy Nathaniel Sunshine is not wrong in the comments here when he says Larry Walker had a very less than desirable ending with the Rockies. And not only that, I have it on good authority. In fact, I wrote a story long before the Rockies retired Larry Walker's number with some inside sources and a very brief, not conversation, but interaction with number 33 himself. Things weren't up until that moment. They had not retired his number yet. And, frankly, I have it on pretty solid authority that he would have liked to have that number retired. Why the hell wouldn't you?
That's pretty disrespectful to not have his number retired.
That's what these.
What are you doing?
These Denver teams that don't have strong ownership, like the Nuggets, went for 30 years before they retired like Alex English's number. They had to retire all these numbers like 3 years ago. Like they came in like, hey, sorry. So were the Monforts the owners when Larry Walker was here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That certainly derailed what I was about to say.
What I was going to try to say there was that I know that position wasn't the best. And I know Larry Walker had very specific problems, and I know what some of those specific problems were with the organization, and particularly with Dick Monfort, and yet he's going into the Hall wearing that CR. So I got Patrick's 40%, bro. I got you.
Baby. All right.
41.
Push that, baby.
41. It just went up. Sorry. 41.
I'll take the under. How about that?
So head on over to DraftKings Sportsbook. No, we've done our ad reads today, but that was just so good. So
Makayla takes the 59% chance that it won't happen.
Yeah, oh my goodness. All right. Final thoughts, feelings, again, desires. I know it's share time. It's the circle of sanctuary here. Everything is okay to say out loud.
I gotta say, I feel quite a bit better. I've been bottling these emotions and sending them out, parceling them out 240 characters at a time, poisoning the Twitter timeline, and it didn't bring me the mental calmness that I was searching for. But you know what? Talking with some good friends, some learned baseball folk like yourself, and some what should be professional statisticians, if I had any say in it, it's really made me feel heartened, and that at the end of the day, isn't it all about the friends we made along the way?
Never heard
No?
that before.
I was gonna say
Brilliant.
silence.
Just crickets.
Before I ask that, do you guys think of me as a friend or no?
Before that. Oh,
shoot.
no, that's maybe what we should do is have everybody in the comment section and on Twitter on the show for 5-minute segments at a time.
Yeah.
Then people will feel better. Apparently,
Okay,
that's
cool.
what makes Rockies fans feel better, is just coming on this show.
Yeah.
Speed psychiatry. I'm down with it.
I don't know, Makayla, feeling any better or still? She's like, I've been on the show twice today, and
No, it's interesting because like
still
I've gone through like different stages of like emotions, like
It's called
a post breakup, you know?
grief. You're
Like-
going through grief.
I've been through my really sad stage, and I'm now morphing into my very mad stage.
Wow.
And then I'll be able to kind of like get out of that mad stage and move into another stage of grief shortly. And it, of course, like talking it out does feel better. You know, I kind of went off a little bit earlier when Drew and I recapped the press conference. But I mean, it's just, I still can't like wrap my mind around the astronomical failure that is the Rockies front office. And, you know, I guess to sum everything up, if you Rockies fans, if you want to boycott the team, I support you. If you still want to support the team, I support you. Don't let anybody tell you that your emotions surrounding this are invalid, because I have never in my short 24 years of life seen anyone mishandle operating a team like I have Jeff Bridich and Dick Monfort. So Rockies fans, I support your emotions. Don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong, because that was horrible. That was a mess. It's embarrassing. It's a slap in the face. Hashtag sell a team. Hashtag fire Bridich. I'm out.
Wow, that's a
Drop.
mic drop. So we're kind of seeing those 5 stages of grief.
Yeah,
We're
so
seeing
the
those 5
microphone is
stages of
in her laptop. She's just to smash it.
Yeah, so Eric, I saw you shift stages because you now went to the bargaining stage where you go, oh, all right, hold on.
Yep.
Bezos is buying the Rockies. Nolan opts out.
I
There's
have a
about a
plan.
90% chance of that. Makayla, that's what you're up for next. Then we got
further
depression
along.
and acceptance, and
Yeah.
you'll get it. We'll all get out of this spiral together.
Michaela's
We
about to fall into a crumple of tears.
She's still in the
Like-
anger phase.
Like, I know we're about to get to
Still mad
sadness.
phase.
I'm not looking forward to that. Maybe you
But,
should
like,
take a day or two off.
I feel like I'm a curse because I was at the Diamondbacks and they traded Goldschmidt to the Cardinals. Now I'm in Colorado where they traded Nolan to the Cardinals. So I feel like I should just hang it up and just go and move to St. Louis at this point, because
Yeah.
They'll trade all their players to everyone else.
I was gonna say the reverse is the curse. That's right.
Yeah.
what a
You know what,
mess.
though? I'm just, the only thing I'm glad about is that St. Louis lost their football team. I'm glad you lost your football team, St. Louis.
no.
Enjoy Nolan Arenado.
Like I say, I think half the people in our comments
I
section
know there's
right
a
now
lot
are
of Cardinals fans.
fans.
Enjoy not watching football ever. Even though our football sucks, we still have it.
You don't even
The
have
only
an NBA team. Take
You got
that.
nothing. You got nothing except for the player that is clearly so close to our hearts that it hurts us even to mention his name. He's now Voldemort.
I don't even think they have an MLS team. They might have one
take
coming.
that.
I don't think they do.
They do have an XFL team though, so they're beating us there. The St. Louis Battlehawks are, you know. But I will.
They used to. They lost that team too. They lost the whole league.
Yeah,
How did
the
Makayla
XFL
get to an
is not
XFL reference before either of us, Patrick? How did that just happened on this show?
Yeah. Made sense.
I will say though that the only thing that makes me feel mildly better is I've been to St. Louis, and I would 10 times out of 10 rather live in Denver than I would in St. Louis. So
Yeah.
at least we have that going for
Yeah,
us.
your arch sucks.
go.
That's all you got is a big metal piece of garbage. And we've got natural beauty. We've got
You
reasonable
talking about the
people
World
outside of
Series
this,
championship? Isn't that what Rob Manfred called World Series championship? A giant
Yeah.
metal piece of garbage. That's all you have in St. Louis. It's a whole bunch of giant metal
Yeah, you
World
stupid
Series
blues,
championships.
whatever.
Oh, they got hockey ones too, don't they? They got several pieces
Yeah.
of metal.
They got a lot of metal.
I feel-
Kristen listening?
I gotta say, I feel bad for going to St. Louis just now. I'm in a lot of different stages of grief. I can't be.
Yeah, okay.
It's just
All right.
unbelievable. There's just no way to process it because it's just unbelievable.
It truly is. I was very prepared for the probability, if not the exact moment, that the Colorado Rockies were going to trade Nolan Arenado, I was not prepared for it to go down like this. And it's funny because, we had been having discussions in the Discord. Patrick and I have been getting into it a little bit privately about, is there a way they can turn a positive out of this? And, I think there was a possibility, but all of that becomes moot. And one of the reasons why I think a grand total of one person has tried to throw an "I told you so" down my throat is because even the people who were most on the opposite side of it, of this isn't going to go well for the Rockies, still did not expect it to go this bad. So even they can't say "I told you so." That's like being if I'd have said they're not going to play the World Series last year because of the pandemic. And then right before the World Series was supposed to start, aliens attacked and blew up where we were supposed to play the World Series. And I was like, told you so. It's this is so far outside the realm of what people thought was going to happen. People, you can't pull an "I told you so" here. You can't predict maybe the worst move in the history of Major League Baseball is going to happen on a Friday night while you're trying to watch cartoons and hockey.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody.
They got Vince McMahon and Monty Python references. I'm off my game, Patrick. They got them before we did.
Started with Spinal Tap, so we've kind of brought all the way around. Although those one are Americans pretending that they're British.
Oh, man. Well, IAF, we wish the DNVR bar was further west, or at least there was a version out there for you to have a drink to, but we're happy with where it is. There you go. For those of you that are local, come commiserate with us at a socially distant, safe, but still hello atmosphere. And if you can't get down there, well, then you can hang out with us on social media at Drew Creasman, at Patrick D. Lyons, at Makayla E. Perkins, at D-Line Co.
Be careful with that last one, by the way.
Yeah, only if you want the full varnished truth. Must be 18 and older to follow the at D-Line Co. account. Very spicy takes coming from there, but still highly recommend. Plus, you sometimes get little hints about the next shirt that's coming out, and I will say
you get
that
to give feedback.
Yeah,
be an early dissenter.
We're all
wearing others do.
D-Line today. I can't wait till we're all walking down the red carpet one day at the big DNVR party. Yeah. Who are you wearing? We're all like D-Line.
That you see that schlubby guy that's laughing at everything, even if it's not a joke. Him. That's who we're wearing.
He's the style guru for us.
You see that guy with mustard on his whole body? He's the one that's in charge of dressing us.
Oh, so you should, despite all of that, follow everyone on social media to hang out with us. If you really want to get deep into the conversations, you want the real access, you got to subscribe to the DNVR.com. Because when you do that, you get a bunch of articles. Patrick, you want to mention? I think we got to throw out I know we're late in the show, but a lot of people want to know.
It just dropped right when we were starting the podcast. An exclusive interview. I was able to talk with Josh Fuentes, the one man who's probably has the most unique perspective in all of this. He's not just a teammate of Nolan Arenado. He's also his cousin. But that's not the breaking news, but his comments are what's breaking.
Yeah, so Patrick's got some exclusive comments from Josh Fuentes that you can only read if you subscribe to the DNVR.com. But when you do that, you also get to hang out with us in our private chat room and tell us all of your completely unbridled feelings about this team that won't get you kicked off of unbridled feelings. And they won't get you kicked off Twitter because it's on a private Discord chat where we're all hanging out. Let us know. We got the pro wrestling room where Patrick was wondering, if you had your opportunity to throw a few wrestling moves on a couple members of this Rockies front office, what might those moves be? We're having fun despite the fact that we're all just living through this together. I think, like I said earlier with Matt.
And you get a free T-shirt.
And you get a free T-shirt when you subscribe.
Free T-shirt. And we just dropped one for the Nuggets. Yeah, Mike.
Oh, the Yeah, Mike thing.
Dropping one shortly for the Avalanche.
Yeah.
TB scene.
TBDBD.
TBDBD.
And after you get your free shirt, get your $5 Nolan being Nolan shirt.
Yeah, we got a bunch of
your early Hall of Fame shirt. Like again, Eric's gonna go ahead and he'll drop a Todd Helton Hall of Fame one. But you know what? We don't know what year it's going to actually happen. You know what? We do know Nolan's going to the Hall of Fame. There's a 41% chance now he's going in as a member of the Rockies. Yep. So get that Hall of Fame shirt 17, 18 years ahead of time for $5. Best investment you'll ever make.
Think of that.
Plus, it's the way to do exactly what your mind is having trouble doing right now, which is continue to support Nolan Arenado and have Rockies things, but not send any money to Dick Monfort whatsoever. So that's a get to have your cake and eat it too moment. So we really do appreciate all of you hanging out with us through that. Yeah, get there in the Discord, subscribe, do all the good things. Make sure that you're hanging out with us on a daily basis because we're going to continue to get through this as a community together. As I said earlier, the only thing that would be worse about this happening as it is all of us going through it alone. So we'll keep talking. We'll keep getting through it. We'll keep hanging out with all of you who will, I'm sure, keep being absolutely awesome. I promise you, we will continue to be absolutely Drew Creasman, Patrick Lyons, Makayla Perkins, and Eric Wedum. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark.
Not me, I'm boycotting.